$40. That's what I handed over every single spring for a bag of fertilizer that swore it would fill my garden with vegetables. Picture the morning, coffee in hand, cool air on your arms, rows you just planted, straight and hopeful in the dark soil. Now jump ahead 6 weeks. I'm standing over those same rows. Yellow leaves, stunted little plants, tomatoes the size of marbles. And the quiet thing working against me the whole time was the shelf I bought from the garden aisle. The bright label that told me exactly what to pour and exactly when. I did it their way for years. Same bag, same promise, same sad little harvest. Here's the truth I finally had to admit. Most people feed the plant, water on a schedule, and till the whole bed every spring, and nothing ever changes. The ground dies a little more each season, and the aisle keeps selling you the cure for the problem it created. So I went looking, and there was one corner of my garden, right by the back fence, where I never spread a thing. I just tossed grass clippings and old leaves there for years out of pure laziness. Those tomatoes came in twice the size of the ones I babied with powder from a bag. That corner is what started this whole investigation. I compared what the label told me to do against what the old Amish growers were doing long before that bag ever existed. And I found 2 things that flipped everything I believed. In this video, I'll show you 2 angles. First, why your vegetables grow small and pale no matter what you feed them. Second, why you spend the whole summer fighting weeds and drought while the Amish barely touch a hose. And I'll show you one last thing. One old method the product industry could never put in a bag. And it is the entire reason I made this video. I'll name it at the very end. But first, let me ask you something simple. You think your soil is hungry. What if it isn't hungry at all? What if it's actually suffocating? Let me start with part 1, the thing that hurt me the most. The small, pale plants that never fill out no matter what you do. I put this first because it's the failure that makes people quit gardening for good. Here's the mini question that stopped me cold. If I'm pouring so much food onto my plants, why do they look starved? Now, what do you instinctively do? You see a weak plant, so you reach for more fertilizer. It feels logical. The label says it feeds your plants, so if they look hungry, feed them more. I get it. I did the exact same thing. But here is what is actually happening under the surface. Most of those bags are built on salt, synthetic nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium in a salt form the plant can grab fast. And that fast green flush fools you. What you don't see is the salt building up in the ground. Those salts pull water out of soil life, the same way salt pulls water out of a slug. Extension soil labs have measured it for decades. The earthworms leave, the fungal threads that feed roots break apart. In healthy old soil, you can find 20 to 25 earthworms in a single square foot. In hammered, over-fertilized garden soil, you can dig and find almost none. So the plant gets one loud meal, then the living soil that should feed it slowly goes quiet. The roots sit in dead dirt that packs down hard and can't breathe. That's the yellow. That's the stunt. That's the marble-sized tomato. Here's the reframe, and I want you to really hear it. You are not supposed to feed the plant. You are supposed to feed the soil and let the soil feed the plant. That one sentence is the whole difference between the aisle and the Amish. So how did they do it from the simplest step to the most serious? The first and cheapest thing is aged manure, not fresh, aged. The Amish let horse or cow manure sit and break down for 6 months to a year before it ever touches a plant. Fresh manure is too hot, too full of raw nitrogen, and it will burn your roots. But aged manure releases its nitrogen slowly over the whole season, and it brings back the microbes. 2 to 3 inches worked lightly into the top of the bed feeds that ground for months, not for one loud week. The next step up is a real compost pile. Kitchen scraps, garden waste, leaves, and a bit of that manure turned and left to cook. That black crumbly compost is living food. It doesn't just feed the plant, it rebuilds the sponge that holds water and air around the roots. And here's where the villain gets a little clearer. That salt fertilizer isn't an accident. It is designed to work fast and wear off fast. So the plant looks hungry again in a few weeks. So you walk back to the aisle and buy the same bag again. Aged manure and compost don't do that. They make your soil better every year instead of worse. and you cannot bottle better every year and sell it $40 at a time. That's the first crack in the story. Now, think about what you stand to lose if you keep going the aisle way. Every season your soil gets saltier, harder, and deader. The harvest shrinks, the bag gets bigger, and one spring you look at that patch of concrete hard dirt and decide gardening just isn't for you. That's the real cost, not the $40. The quitting, but feeding the soil is only half of what I found. Because even after I fixed my feeding, I was still losing whole afternoons to two things that never seemed to stop. And that leads me straight into part 2, a completely different battle, the one you fight standing up with a hoe in your hand. Part 2 is the weeds and the drought. And here's my blunt claim. Most people are creating both problems with their own two hands every single spring. The slow, costly consequence is a garden that demands water every evening and weeding every weekend all summer long until you're sick of the sight of it. The mini hook is this. Why does the Amish garden, with far less watering and almost no weeding, stay green in the same July heat that turns mine to dust? Here's what you instinctively do, and it feels like the responsible thing. You till. Every spring, you turn that soil over, break it up fine and fluffy, and it looks perfect. Clean, dark, ready. It feels like real gardening. But here is what's actually happening when you till. You are destroying the structure of the soil. Underground, there's a whole network of fungal threads that connect to roots and carry water and nutrients far beyond what the roots could reach alone. Those threads are called mycorrhizae, and a spinning tiller blade shreds every one of them. You're also dragging weed seeds up from below. There are thousands of dormant weed seeds sleeping in the dark under your garden. They only need light and a little disturbance to wake up. Every pass of that tiller is you planting a fresh crop of weeds by hand. Before I take you into that second battle, let me stop for one honest second, because everything I'm digging up here has a fuller version. Picture yourself kneeling by that same tired bed, wondering exactly how much aged manure to work in, or whether your soil is truly dead or just packed, and having no clear answer. That guessing is what I finally put an end to. I gathered every one of these old grower methods into the complete Amish Yard Field Edition, the bundle-only field manual, and it walks you right through it. The Amish Soil Guide shows you precision soil testing that goes way past a basic pH strip, so you can know your soil before you touch a seed instead of guessing. And the homemade fertilizer protocol lays out how to feed the soil, not the bag, with a system that outperforms the store-bought stuff. Every protocol and proven case, one system, all sent straight to your email as a PDF you keep for good. And here's a test you can run for free tonight. Go dig 1 square foot in your best patch and count the earthworms. Then dig 1 square foot where you've poured that bag for years and count again. That gap in your own dirt tells you everything the label never will. The fastest way to get the books is to scan the QR code right there on your screen, or go to the link in the description or the pinned comment. And this matters no matter when you're watching, because your soil is losing a little more life every single season you feed it salt instead of feeding the ground. All right, now back to that second problem, the one you fight standing up with a hoe in your hand. And then there's the sun on that bare, fluffy, exposed dirt. This one number stopped me. On a hot, clear day, bare, dark soil can hit 140 degrees Fahrenheit at the surface. Roots start dying somewhere around 95. So your feeder roots, the fine ones right near the top, are cooking. And exposed soil loses water fast, straight up into the air as it bakes. That's your drought. You didn't get less rain. You built a surface that throws water away. Here's the reframe. Weeds are not invaders attacking your garden. Weeds are the soil trying to cover its own bare skin, because nature refuses to leave ground exposed. Every weed is a bandage. You made the wound with the tiller, and the weeds rushed in to close it. So what did the old growers do instead, from the cheapest floor up to the serious option? Method 1 is the simplest thing on earth. Stop tilling. Just stop. Leave the soil structure alone and plant into it. If it's packed hard, you loosen it once with a broad fork. A big hand fork you push in and rock back, which cracks the soil open without flipping it or shredding the fungal threads. You break the pan without killing the life. Method 2 is how you water, because most people water exactly wrong. They give the garden a light sprinkle every evening. That feels caring, but it trains roots to stay shallow near the surface, right in the zone that bakes and dries first. The better way is a long, deep soak once or twice a week, right at the base of the plants, early in the morning. Deep water pulls roots down to where the soil stays cool and moist. You water less often, and the plants get tougher. Method 3 is the one a serious grower reaches for, and it's the bridge to everything. You never let that soil sit naked in the sun in the first place. You keep it covered, always. And the moment I understood that, the whole picture snapped into focus for me. And this is exactly the point where I need to ask you one thing. If this investigation is saving you from another wasted season, take 1 second and subscribe. This channel exists to dig up the mechanism the garden industry keeps fuzzy on purpose and to hand you the old methods they can't sell. Subscribe and you're in with the folks who refuse to be fooled by the aisle again. That's it. Back to it, because now I can finally give you the thing I sealed at the start. This is part 3, prevention, and the name of it is the old Amish permanent mulch, the deep cover method, and it is the single reason I made this whole video. Here's the one action that prevents both problems at once: the pale plants and the summer of weeding and watering. You cover the soil with a thick blanket of organic material and you never let it go bare again, not for a day. 8 inches of spoiled hay, straw, or shredded leaves laid right over the whole bed, tucked around every plant. Here is why it works, mechanically. In one breath. That thick blanket keeps the sun off the soil so it never hits that killing 140 degrees. It holds moisture in so the ground stays damp for days. It blocks light so weed seeds can never wake up. And as the bottom layer rots, it turns into the exact rich, living compost that feeds your plants for free. It solves the feeding and the weeding and the watering with one move. The material is the cheapest stuff a farmer has. Spoiled hay he can't feed his animals, or straw, or the bags of leaves your neighbors drag to the curb every fall. You lay it on thick, 8 inches to start, because it settles and shrinks down as it breaks down. You pull it back a little to plant your seeds or set your seedlings, then tuck it right back around the stems. That's the whole method. You do it once this weekend and you top it up once a year. And here's the part that made me angry once I saw it clearly. This method was written down and used for generations. An old-time grower named Ruth Stout wrote about deep year-round mulch back in the 1950s, and the Amish and plenty of old farmers were living it long before that. It works so well that a mulch garden can cut its watering by around 70%. 70% less water. Almost no weeding. No $40 bag. Now ask yourself why you've never been sold this. Because there is nothing to sell. You can't patent a pile of spoiled hay. There's no bright bottle, no monthly reorder, no salt that wears off in 3 weeks so you come back for more. The tiller, the fertilizer, the weed spray, the sprinkler you run every night, every one of those exists to fix a problem that a thick blanket of dead grass prevents for free. So the method didn't disappear. It just got quietly pushed to the back while the profitable stuff filled the shelves. A few stubborn old growers kept doing it the whole time, and now you've got it too. Let me match it to you quickly, because not every yard is the same. If you've got a big open garden and easy access to hay or leaves, go all in on the deep permanent mulch this weekend, top to bottom. If you're working a few small raised beds, use finished compost as your bottom feeding layer and straw as your cover, because it looks tidy and won't blow around. And if your soil is packed hard as a road from years of that salt fertilizer, crack it once with a broad fork, lay 2 inches of aged manure, then bury the whole thing under the deep mulch and let the worms do the rest over one season. Any of those 3 beats another trip to the aisle. Now, here's the new problem I owe you, because I'm not going to pretend this is magic with no catch. When you lay down that thick, moist, cozy blanket of mulch, you are also building a 5-star hotel for slugs, and sometimes for voles that tunnel under the cover to chew your roots. It's the one real downside of deep mulch, and nobody in this niche seems to warn you about it before you're standing there watching a slug eat your lettuce. So I want to hear from you. If your mulch is bringing slugs or something is tunneling underneath it, drop a comment and just type the word slugs so I can see how many of you are hitting this. That tells me to make it next. Because here's what this really comes down to. For years, the aisle had me convinced my soil was hungry and my thumb was brown. When the truth is, my soil was just naked and starving for the one free thing nobody wanted to sell me. You didn't fail at gardening. You were handed the expensive version on purpose. My next video breaks down exactly how the old growers kept the slugs and the voles out of that deep mulch without a single chemical, and it's simpler than you think. Subscribe right now so it lands in front of you the moment it's up, because if you start mulching this weekend, you're going to need it in about 3 weeks. Don't get caught without it. I did the overview here, but I go a whole lot deeper inside my membership, the Amish Garden Circle. In there, I pick up right where this video stopped. You can ask me your own question, and a real person, me, answers you myself. And you're not doing it alone. Gardeners like you already belong here. Just point your phone's camera at the code on the screen, and you can cancel anytime. Now that your garden's growing strong, let's give it what it truly needs to thrive. In the next video, I'll show you the simple fertilizer that makes everything grow thick and full. It's starting right here.